Hi everybody, Scott McGinnis back again once more for Armsportvideos in Focus at Calico's Lounge in Toronto, Nova Scotia. At this point in time, my guest is probably well known to you, Rick Pinkney from the Nova Scotia Arm Wrestling Association, president of NSAWA, referee-in-chief for the CAWF, and on the referees panel for the WAF. Rick, thanks for stopping by. How you doing?
Oh, very good, Scott. And you?
No, not too bad. So the main reason I got Rick to stop by is while I've been away at different tournaments, people have been asking me a few questions about a few things. I thought you're a pretty high level official referee. The first question I want to ask you is, I've been hearing over and over and over, we're going to take arm wrestling to the next level. What's the next level?
I think what the next level for most people is to get it on television. That's
Okay.
what they feel the next level is, to have it up there where it's more of a recognized sport, where people see it on Wide World of Sports, where people are seeing it like on a regular basis, like the Ultimate Fighting type thing, except not on the pay-per-view, but more or less on the sports channels.
Okay, great. Have we not seen that before? Wide World of Sports had arm wrestling on back in the 70s. It was pretty regular.
Yeah, it
So
was.
we've been there. So what you're telling me is we just want to return to that.
Basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
My answer to the question, if anybody even cares, was it depends on who you ask. I think a lot of people have their own motives for whatever the next level may be.
Oh, definitely. I mean, some people look at it as they want to bring it up, for their own personal gain, be it financial, be it the infamy of it, whatever, which is fine. Doesn't bother me. If we can make arm wrestling more popular, perfect. I just look at it as, if we can get more people into the sport, then it's better for everybody.
Okay. One of the other things that I've been asked about, and I can't really answer because we have our own problems here in Nova Scotia, Atlantic Canada, inconsistency in refereeing.
Yeah.
How do you address this?
Well, hopefully through our referees clinics, we're going to work on that. I mean, I think we're doing quite a good job in Canada of getting it. I mean, we've still got quite a ways to go, and I think that's the only way to do it, is you've got to put people through a system that actually challenges them to see where they sit and to say, okay, this is what you need to work on to be a better referee. And people need to, as a referee, you have to be able to accept some criticism. Just because, I don't care if you've refereed the Nationals, the Worlds, whatever. We're not perfect, but you have to realize sometimes you might get in a habit of doing this, that, and the other thing that just doesn't work. You need to constantly be improving as a referee. I do. Leonard Harkless knows he does. Everybody does. I mean, it's something we all have to work on. But the problem is we're short on referees, so a lot of places are using whoever they can really get. The person really hasn't had any training to be a referee. They've been an arm wrestler, a fairly good arm wrestler, and they think, well, they're going to make a good referee. That doesn't always work. I've seen some referees that used to be arm wrestlers, exceptional arm wrestlers, smart arm wrestlers, and they were just terrible referees. I don't know what it is, what characteristic. You can't really look for characteristic. Basically, once you throw the person up there, and you can kind of see how they go and if they're willing to get better, and and that's what you have to work on. Just taking a good arm wrestler and making them a referee just doesn't work all the time.
Okay, so I've heard of, and I happen to agree. So I know the way that you want to see things happen as referees are groomed and made and taken from the very bottom level and improved. So I've heard people complaining about, well, they grab so and so out of the audience and make them a referee, and they don't know the rules, they don't know to watch for. What I worry about is people getting hurt because you have inexperienced referees.
And it's setting you up for a big fall doing that. I mean, you cannot just take somebody that's had no training. I mean, at least, if we have an injury, at least we've got qualified people on the table. And, if it ever, heaven forbid, went to court or something, we can say, it was just one of these things that happened. I mean, and any sports stuff does happen. But if you've got qualified people on there, the chances of you getting sued, and I think that's one of, a referee's greatest fear, or I should say as a promoter, it should be their greatest fear, is being sued by somebody that gets hurt. And you got to look out for the safety of the arm wrestlers at the table. That's your number one priority, is the safety. Sure, things happen, But, man, you cannot just grab somebody off the street and throw them up there to be a referee. I mean, things happen in the blink of an eye, and it's hard for an experienced referee to catch it sometime. So for somebody that has no idea really what's going on, you're just asking for trouble.
Okay, I think there's only two more points that I off the top of my head that I can remember that I was asked about. Number one is interpretations of the rules. What I'm finding the more traveling that I've been doing is, so in Canada, pretty well everybody across Canada is following the same rules. In the U.S., because you have a couple of different organizations, there's different rules. Do you see a day when everybody's following the same set of rules?
I wish I could say yes, but, pretty well around the world, I think everybody's pretty well following the same rules, that we've got here in Canada. I mean, there's a couple of minor differences between Canada and WAF, but down the States, basically, it's going to come down to them guys finally getting together, all the different promoters, and saying, these are the rules we need to use. They're either being used by WAF or we're going to use the ones that the AAA use, or we'll use the ones that this organization or that organization, and we're going to use one set of rules. But everybody's using their own rules because they think those rules are the best. And, to them, they are the best rules, and they've been working good for maybe some instances, maybe 20, 25, 30 years, and they've been sticking with them. But times are changing, and I think it's tough on the competitors. You're walking into a place, and, okay, now all of a sudden you're allowed to lift your elbow, whereas last week you're at a tournament, you couldn't lift your elbow. Now this one you can do this, you can't do that. And I don't really like seeing that. I wish just everybody get used to one set of rules. You wouldn't see all the complaining about, people call for little elbow fouls and stuff like that if they were used to those rules all the time where they couldn't lift their elbow, and they knew that. And the funny thing is, I just want to throw this in.
Sure.
A lot of the people that complain about, I should be allowed to lift my elbow a bit, they're the first ones to call and complain when they see their opponent's elbow come off. Well, he lifted his elbow off, or they're screaming at your elbow's off. But they're the ones that want the elbow to be able to lift off a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, and it is true. I guess it's don't do as I do as I say type of thing. And the last thing I was asked about is in the traveling, and I hear people talking about they want to change this rule, they want to change this rule, they don't like this, they don't like that. Do we have a fairly good set of rules now? All you can speak of really is CAWF and the WAF. Do we seem to have a pretty good set of rules that if followed that don't need to be changed, or is there still more adjusting that you think needs to be done?
I think we've got a good set of rules. I mean, there's a few spots we could probably tinker with. And, I mean, like I said, the sport's continually evolving as we're growing and stuff like that. So we could probably tinker with a couple of things. It'd be nice to get the setups going. And so I could probably be a lot stricter on that myself. And but for the most part, yeah, I mean, I'd really like to see people being able to lift their elbows a bit, but where do you draw the line? It's just, and that's the biggest problem. It's just like, where do you draw the line on people lifting their elbows? And, it's like if you're going to lift them half an inch, if they gain an advantage, well, then you've got to realize there's more to gain advantage than just going from neutral to the winning position or losing position to neutral. Well, there's hand position and stuff like that you just don't catch when you see an elbow and your eye goes down. Did you really see? Because, I mean, a smart arm wrestler is just going to lift its elbow. And, I mean, we're talking about a sport that requires just the smallest hand movement, and that's the difference between winning and losing. And if you can make that just by lifting your elbow a bit, wow.
Okay, one point on the elbows. I hear arm wrestlers want to take interpretation away from the referees. They want more things black and white. Well, if you're allowing elbows to come up a bit, how is it black? You're putting it back into interpretation.
That's exactly. You're throwing the gray area, and that's why when I wrote the rules, I wanted everything black and white. There's no ands, ifs, buts. Every sport has ran into problems. The National Hockey League is one of the biggest ones. They ran into all kinds of problems because there was too much gray area, and then things are just getting out of hand. They just because people take advantage. If you got a gray area, and I was an arm wrestler, there's a gray area. I'm taking advantage of it. I mean, I've done it for years.
Okay. And the very last thing has nothing to do with rules. I'm all done now. You've answered those questions. The only thing that I see right now, this is more of a local issue. I don't see it happening as much when I go to the U.S. because guys are traveling more. Numbers. Not just the women's numbers, which are down, and that's a different issue. We'll have to address that at another time. I actually want to address that with a couple of women and see what they have to say. Right now, it's hard to attract new people. What do you think can be done?
Well, hopefully we've made a change here to move a lot of our lighter guys out of the amateur heavyweights. But we still got to get them in now. I mean, we've kind of set a reputation as, because I mean, we've here in Nova Scotia, in a way, we're very fortunate that our lighter guys are very good. They're very good. I mean, they've shown it at the nationals, at how good they are. But the problem is when you've got a smaller guy beating, a guy, he's giving up 50, 60 pounds, and he's beating this guy, that guy's not coming back.
Yeah.
So hopefully. But the problem is we've already set this reputation. Now how do we got to start all over, getting all a new crop of young guys coming out, heavier guys, and hopefully, because that's where our biggest problem is on the heavier guys. We don't seem to be lacking any lighter guys. But it might take a couple of years to finally get around to people saying, geez, I went to a tournament, did okay. And somebody else saying, geez, I went to a tournament, I could beat this guy, and last time I went, I got creamed by a 150-pound guy or lighter. So, it just might take a couple of years of doing this.
Okay. Unless you have anything else that I may have missed, I just know I was asked a few questions while I was away. I thought I would address them with you. And so for now, that's all I have for right now. So,
okay.
All right. Thanks for stopping by, Rick.
Thanks, Scott.
For Rick Pinkney, I'm Scott McGinnis for Armsportvideos, and we're out again. Thanks.